In this video, I'm going to show you how to get the contact info for hundreds of decision makers at companies that are using YouTube ads to run traffic to their webinar. This can be super useful if you're a copywriter like I am, who does a lot of work with webinars, or an advertiser yourself, or anyone who just wants to work with companies that they have a marketing budget, they're spending money in order to get more clients and customers. So here's how to do this. We're going to use two free tools, VidTow, the one you see on the screen, and also another tool called Apollo.io. So let's get right to it. I recommend going to the brands section here. And you have a couple of filters here. If you want to filter from worldwide down to a specific location, you can. My preference is to get all of the information out of VidTow first and then narrow down if I don't want to deal with anything in Spanish or Portuguese or any other language. But I would generally recommend start with worldwide, scrape all the information first, and then you can use a filter in Google Sheets to filter out all the countries you don't want, or just keep all the countries you do want. Either way is fine. I'm going to move myself up here. One thing you're going to want to do here is go to the end of the URL and make per page 100. It'll make it much easier to scrape all the data. All right, so now that you're set up, all you're going to do is you're literally just going to grab all of this page, scroll all the way down to the bottom, copy it, and paste it into a Google Sheet here. And you go back to VidTow, move over to the next page. There are only, at the time of recording this, there are fewer than 500 results. So while you can automate something like this, it only takes a minute or two to copy and paste the 5 pages. So that's what I'm going to do here. So again, you can grab all of this. I'm going to stop after this page. You get the idea. If you want to do all 5, you can. And then you can remove all of these rows that you don't need. You don't need this. As you can see, the ad spend is also revealed, which is nice. This column you don't need. And we can look at this. So I actually have the full list over here. And then what you're going to want to do next, now that you have the brands, is you actually need the URLs. And you're going to want the URLs, potentially the URLs of the actual webinar itself. And then after that, you're probably going to want the contact information so you can actually reach out to the business owners or marketing directors or whoever it is you're going to reach out to and propose your services. So there is a string. We've done all of this. If you want to get the webinar URL, all you need is the brand name plus this string here. So let's do an example of that. Let's take Touchstone. And I already have this set up, actually. You can do this in quotation marks or out of quotation marks. See what comes up. The results often are a little bit different, but it shouldn't make too much of a difference most of the time. Let me give you an example. So for this one, Bob Diamond's, the original was actually like this, and that didn't work in quotation marks. But for long names like this, I tried Bob Diamond, and I also tried America's Tax Sale Attorney as separate strings. They produce different results. So here, it's like, okay, this is the webinar, or at least one of the webinars that Touchstone has. We can open that. You can sign up for the webinar, see what emails they're sending. Of course, certain replays might not still be active. That's if you're doing this sort of brute force method. I can't guarantee that every webinar page that you're going to discover is an active webinar that they're currently running, but this is still information you can use to inform your outreach, learn about the business, get on their email list, come up with ideas for landing page optimization, webinar optimization, and anything else that you do. I mean, this looks like it's probably still running, and you can do additional research to verify that. But that's an easy way to find where the actual webinar pages are for any given business. So once you have that, then the question is, okay, well, what do I do about the contact information? So let's take Touchstone again. if you go to their website, then, well, this is where Apollo comes in. So actually, let me go to Apollo first. There is a Chrome extension that you might want to install, because then on the website you can get this information directly. But if you just come to the people section, people search, and over here in the companies filter, you can put in a list of as many companies as you want. Well, up to 10,000. So you should be fine. We can grab all of these. Now, I don't have all of these formatted correctly, so I would recommend that you actually go slower through this and make sure that, like, okay, webinar jam, we don't want that in there. We'll see if this actually produces more results, because not every single URL, especially webinar URL, is going to be where an email address is hosted, right? A lot of marketers, they'll get a separate URL. So there are some additional companies here, which is great. But as you know, a lot of marketers will buy a separate URL to run their webinars from, which is why it's nice to get the main URL as well as doing the webinar search. So that's why this is nice to have. It's part of the research process, figuring out how you're going to get your foot in the door, and this informs a lot of your outreach. But in terms of actually getting the contact information, the webinar page, if it's on the main website, then great. It doesn't really make a difference. If it's on a standalone website where they're just running traffic to, and of course you still have to find the primary domain. So with the Apollo extension over here, this is pretty convenient, because you can just get contact information from the website while you're on a specific website. So in this case, you can go over to employees, or you can hit find leads here, go over to employees, and let's see. Now you can either search, let's see, you can search by job title if you want, or you could just scroll and see, okay, head of digital marketing, maybe that's the person I want the email of. So you can hit access email. Apollo will give you 10,000. I think it's 10,000 emails on the free account, so that's pretty handy. You can also do this from in here as well. So okay, there's the co-founder, and if you want, you can come up here and also filter job titles and enter owner, founder, CEO, CMO, director of marketing, and any other job titles that you would actually want to reach out to. And then once you have an email, I'll go to one that I've grabbed already from this list. It will just appear in this email column. Okay, so there it is. So then you can just copy this email, and here's the one that I just grabbed from Touchstone, the head of digital marketing, that I just clicked over here. So there it is. I can also copy that, go over to my Gmail, come up with a cold outreach message, and send it off. Or if you're doing this at scale, then you can export all of these, put them into your sending tool, and send everyone an email. Both ways obviously work. Now, so that's really the entire process. You can do this for all of these businesses, but before I sign off, obviously with VidTow, you aren't limited to doing this for webinars, right? You can get rid of the webinar filters, and you can use any of these filters, but you could use, say, just people who are using ClickFunnels, or just people who are using deadline funnels, or just people who are using Ontraport, right? And so on and so forth. And you know that all of these businesses in the results are or have run YouTube ads, and that's usually a good sign. So interesting. They don't seem to have anyone for for Ontraport. Fine. But the point still stands that, okay, maybe that's not a very good filter to use, right? But you can still, what do they have for lead optimization? You can play around with this and see, Okay, so this active prospect, now you can find all the companies that use that and reach out to them. If this is, so the solar companies, uh, these look like more local or brick and mortar type businesses. That's cool. So if you're in that space, you can do that here. The point is, this is a really great tool. This combination of VidTow plus Apollo can get you lots of leads of people that have a proven track record of spending money on ads. They might be right now, they might not. You can do more research into that. But either way, they at the very least have been. It's a great signal that they might be a great candidate for your services. I hope it serves you well. I'll see you in another video soon.